Divine trials. 7 prophetic tests revealed before your miraculous manifestation is confirmed in the heart of St. Paul's, where whispers of miracles danced through the air. Marjorie was a beacon of hope. She was a devoted mother and prayer warrior, her unwavering faith a testament to the mysteries of God. But everything changed when Jacob, her beloved son, fell gravely ill, and the darkness loomed large. The doctors spoke in somber tones, shrouding her life in a veil of despair. Each word felt like a weight she couldn't bear. Doubt clawed at her heart, threatening to extinguish her light. Yet, in the stillness of the night, as shadows curled around her, Marjorie fell to her knees and cried out to heaven. That night, the air thickened with the fragrance of incense, a presence enveloping her like a warm embrace. In a flash of time, she saw a vision, a golden light cascading over Jacob, promising healing, but it carried a weighty request for trust, the kind that made her spirit tremble. "Wait," it seemed to say. "Trust in my perfect timing." As the initial awe of the vision faded, fear began to creep in. What if she had misinterpreted it? What if hope turned to fragrant ashes, weeks stretched painfully long? The murmurs of the congregation filled her ears, questions and whispers echoing in her mind. David, though supportive at first, grew skeptical, causing tension to ripple through their home. It felt as if the very foundation of their faith community trembled, uncertainty a stubborn fog that engulfed them. Desperate for answers, Marjorie wandered into paths of alternative treatments, her heart filled with good intentions. Yet, with each failed attempt, the chasm between her and her friends widened. Before she could spiral too deep into despair, divine intervention came in the form of a stranger in a local cafe. A man, quietly radiant, spoke words laced with hope, promises of God's faithfulness that Marjorie had nearly forgotten. "You must remember who you are," he insisted, and with each word, a spark reignited within her weary soul. "Your prayers matter. Your faith is a lifeline. Hold fast." Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Rejuvenated, Marjorie returned to her knees, the weight of tension loosening its grip. She was drawn back to the community's prayer nights, where voices united in sacred harmony, each prayer a thread woven in the tapestry of hope. As she listened, she felt their intercession rising as fragrant incense, each word lifting her spirits closer to the divine. Yet the clock steadily ticked. The healing remained elusive, and with it, the poignant questions about God's plan echoed in her heart. What if her trust was misplaced? But amidst the unrelenting doubt, a revelation stirred. To truly embrace faith meant surrendering fully, leaning deep into God's promises, even when darkness clouded her vision. As the last prayers ascended in their cozy church, Marjorie felt a flicker within, a persistent flame ignited by divine hope. Could she dare to trust again? Would she embrace surrender as her path forward? The community was poised for awakening, yet the ultimate expression of God's power hung in the balance. What would it take for the clouds of uncertainty to part, revealing the miracle waiting on the other side? The following days unfolded like pages from a sacred book, each hour deepening Marjorie's resolve. She returned each night to St. Paul's, the soft glow of candlelight casting shadows that danced like worshippers on the walls. The sweet scent of incense mingled with fresh flowers, reminders of life enduring in the harshest of seasons. As the congregation gathered, Marjorie felt drawn to an unseen current of strength flowing among them. It was as if the collective prayers transformed the air into a tapestry of faith, each word a stitch binding them closer to God. In those moments, doubt fluttered at the edges of her heart, but the resounding faith of those around her acted like a shield, fortifying her spirit. She began to openly share her journey, her struggles, and, most importantly, her hopes. Beloved friends, she spoke with newfound confidence. I feel the presence of God more than ever. My journey is not just mine, it's our journey together." The murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. They had witnessed her battles. Now, they were eager to stand alongside her in faith. At the heart of this spiritual blossoming was David, who sat quietly, torn between supporting his wife and his own wavering belief. He had witnessed the tears and felt the weight of uncertainty darkening their doorstep. Yet, when Marjorie shared her heart, David felt something shift within him, a glimmer of hope ignited by her unwavering faith. The flicker of trust he had lost began to rekindle under her radiant light. As days merged into nights, the community joined in prayer, and miracles began to weave through their lives. Stories of healing and hope echoed throughout the congregation, testimonials that strengthened Marjorie's heart. They were small miracles, yes, but they were powerful reminders of God's presence. They spoke of families restored and burdens lifted, stirring a palpable anticipation in the air. But even in this rhythm of faith, Marjorie's heart remained heavy with the scale of her own prayer. Jacob's struggle weighed on her every thought, each day mingling hope with an undercurrent of anxiety. Would her son's healing join the line of miracles blooming around her? One quiet afternoon, alone in her home, Marjorie opened her Bible, fingers tracing the familiar passages. The words seemed to leap from the pages, igniting her spirit. "Be still, and know that I am God." Those words wrapped around her heart like a warm embrace, and suddenly, clarity surged through her. To be still did not mean to succumb to fear. Rather, it was an invitation to fully acknowledge God's presence, without the clutches of anxiety. Fueled by this revelation, Marjorie prayed differently that night. With every heartbeat, she released her fear back into the arms of the one who held the universe. "God, I trust your timing. I believe in your will. Let your glory shine through my son." Just as the last remnants of doubt faded, she felt a shift. The very air around her thickened with a promise, an anticipation that rumbled like distant thunder. Was she on the precipice of a miracle? Would the darkness give way to a breakthrough? As she gazed out the window, the setting sun ignited the sky with colors of majesty, reminders of the divine artistry that painted her world. The journey was moving, but that was just the beginning. What lay ahead in the unfolding tapestry of faith? Could she continue to navigate this deepening realm of trust? The answers swirled in the soft whispers of evening, waiting to be revealed. The morning light streamed through the kitchen window, casting a gentle glow on the table where Marjorie sat, her eyes fixed on the steaming cup of tea before her. The warmth of the mug seeped into her palms, grounding her amidst the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside. Would today be the day she would see a change in Jacob? Each tick of the clock echoed her unspoken prayer. As she prepared for yet another day, the telephone rang, slicing through the stillness. Her heart leaped. It was the hospital, calling with updates about Jacob's treatment. She wrapped her fingers around the receiver, holding her breath as she answered, "Hello." The voice on the line was steady yet kind. "Mrs. Thompson, we have scheduled a meeting with the specialists regarding Jacob's case." Her heart sank and soared in tandem. A meeting meant no good news was forthcoming, but perhaps there was still hope in the next steps. "Thank you," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. After hanging up, she found herself rooted in contemplation. There was a trial ahead, one that required her faith to stretch thinner than it ever had before. She remembered the stories shared at St. Paul's, lessons of unwavering trust even when the path twisted unexpectedly. These testimonies weaved through her mind like sacred threads, urging her to rise above doubt. The congregational prayer that evening was electric. As she stepped into the warm embrace of St. Paul's, Marjorie felt the energy of faith crashing around her, filling every crevice of her heart. She listened keenly to the intercessions made by her friends, each voice a brushstroke of hope painting the air with divine fervor. "Dear Lord," she joined in, her voice rising above the murmur, "lift up Jacob. Deliver us from the darkness hanging over him." The room vibrated with amens, an echo of unity that moved her from the depths of despair towards a glimmer of courage. Faith is a journey, she thought, and every prayer spoken was a step closer to healing. Later that night, as David settled beside her on the sofa, She turned to him. David, I feel a change coming. Something is shifting. He looked at her, searching deeply for a flicker of truth in her words. What if it's not the change we want? Marjorie placed her hand gently on his. What if it is? In that moment, a peaceful silence enveloped them. They felt the weight of uncertainty, but also the presence of God surrounding their hearts. It was heavier in the room, like a gentle embrace whispering promises of assurance. Marjorie closed her eyes, envisioning Jacob surrounded by light, free from pain and fear. As days passed, Marjorie found herself engaged in increasingly intense prayer, digging deeper into her spiritual reserves. One night, amidst the flicker of candlelight, she sensed a stirring in her spirit, a new understanding of the trials they faced. Perhaps this was not merely a battle for Jacob's healing, but a test of faith for them all. She recalled James 1 verses 2-4, "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds." This brought a smile to her face. Could it be that God was weaving something more profound through their struggles, strengthening her, deepening their family's faith? With tears of gratitude, she knelt that evening, and rather than petitioning for just healing, her prayer transformed. Lord, help us to embrace this season. Teach us to endure and thrive. A realization washed over her. Perhaps their journey was as important as the destination. As she surrendered her fears, the weight of anxiety began to lift, replaced by a radiant hope. Just then, an unexpected knock at the door broke through her contemplation. Startled, she exchanged curious glances with David. "Who could that be at this hour?" he asked. With her heart racing, Marjorie stood and walked toward the door, both fear and anticipation mingling within her. As she opened it to reveal an unexpected visitor, the dawn of new questions surged through her. Would this encounter lead them closer to the miracle they sought? Would answers emerge from the shadows? The air brimming with possibilities. Marjorie stepped into the next chapter of their divine journey. What would this night unfold? As Marjorie opened the door, her breath caught in her throat. Standing before her was a figure she hadn't seen in years, Mrs. Fletcher, an elderly woman from their church. Her bright eyes shone with a wisdom that seemed to transcend the weight of the years. "Marjorie," she said, her voice soft yet authoritative, "I felt led to come. May I come in?" Marjorie stepped aside, her heart racing with a mixture of surprise and hope. "Of course, Mrs. Fletcher." I didn't expect. They moved to the cozy living room, where the flickering candlelight danced on the walls like reflections of their hearts, a blend of uncertainty and faith. "Tell me how Jacob is doing," Mrs. Fletcher prompted, her eyes piercing through layers of worry. Marjorie took a deep breath, sharing everything: the meetings, the long nights of prayer, the hope that flickered brighter each day. As she spoke, she felt a holy energy filling the room, a comforting presence reminding her that she wasn't alone. "You know," Mrs. Fletcher began, her voice imbued with warmth, "sometimes the trials we face are not just for us, but for those around us. God is at work in ways we can't always see." Marjorie nodded slowly, pondering Ms. Fletcher's words. "I've felt that too. It feels like my faith is being stretched, but I don't want Jacob to suffer. I want him to be well again. I trust God, but trusting God doesn't come without its challenges," the elder woman interrupted gently. "It's in those moments of fear, when the night feels long, that miraculous faith is born." "You're sowing seeds of hope, dear child." Marjorie closed her eyes for a moment, finding strength in the message. "What do you think we should do?" Mrs. Fletcher smiled softly. "Continue praying, but also listen. God often speaks through silence. Seek his guidance in the quiet moments." Marjorie felt a knot in her throat loosen slightly. "That resonates with me. I've been learning that prayer isn't just about asking, it's also about listening." Just as Mrs. Fletcher was about to respond, they both heard a gentle gasp. David stood in the doorway, his eyes wide with an urgency. "I just got a call from the hospital. They want us to come and they have news about Jacob." The atmosphere changed instantly. It felt as if time paused, wrapping them in a cocoon of questions and anticipation. Marjorie's heart raced, thumping against her chest like a drum of fate. "Is it good news?" she asked, voice shaky yet filled with a glimmer of hope. "I don't know," David replied, shaking his head. But they emphasized the importance of our presence. Mrs. Fletcher reached for Marjorie's hand, squeezing it reassuringly. Remember, God is at work. Whether the news is what we desire or not, hold tight to your faith. It will carry you through. Marjorie's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Your presence is a reminder of God's grace. As they rushed to gather their things and prepare to leave, Marjorie couldn't shake the feeling that this was a pivotal moment. The weight of uncertainty still hung in the air, yet so did an overwhelming sense of divine purpose. The drive to the hospital was filled with apprehension, and prayers murmured softly under their breath, pleading for clarity and comfort. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Marjorie's heart pounded louder, echoing her previous prayers. Entering the hospital felt like walking through the gates of a new realm, a place where miracles were woven into the fabric of despair. They stepped into the sterile waiting room, and the atmosphere buzzed with anxious energy, yet somehow felt sacred. As they waited, they exchanged glances that spoke volumes of hope intermingled with fear. It was then that Marjorie recalled the words of Isaiah 40 verse 31, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." And just as she imbued her spirit with that thought, a doctor appeared, his face serious yet gentle. Mr. Thompson's case has taken a turn. Marjorie's breath caught again, nerves bubbling in her stomach. What awaited them on the other side of this news? With the weight of their questions lingering, she realized this moment would determine their next step in this faith journey. What revelation lay in store for them, waiting to be uncovered in the depths of the unknown? Would it usher in a profound change, or would it test their spirits even further? Only time would tell. Marjorie's heart raced as the doctor continued, his words hanging in the air like thick fog. The room was silent, save for the faint beeping of monitors in the distance, a stark reminder of their reality. She felt David's hand grip hers tighter, a silent prayer exchanged between them. With a calm and steady voice, the doctor continued, "We've observed some positive changes in Jacob's condition. The treatment seems to be responding well." A wave of relief washed over Marjorie, but it was quickly tempered by caution. "What does that mean for him? Can we see him?" She pressed, her voice trembling with hope yet tinged with fear. "Yes. I recommend seeing him as soon as possible. His spirits have lifted, and that can make a significant difference." David's face broke into a hopeful smile, but Marjorie's thoughts swirled with anxiety. "Thank you," she managed to reply, her voice a mere whisper as she tried to absorb the news. The doctor nodded, gesturing for them to follow. As they walked down the long hallways lined with student artwork and uplifting quotes, Marjorie let her mind drift to the words of Psalm 46 verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God." In the depths of uncertainty, she clung to that promise. When they finally reached Jacob's room, their hearts pounded as they entered. The sight of him lying there, pale, but with a flicker of life in his eyes, was both awe-inspiring and heart-wrenching. He looked up as they approached, his weak smile lighting up the dim room. "Mom, Dad," he croaked, barely above a whisper, yet it punctured through the heavy silence. Marjorie felt a rush of warmth flood her heart. "We're here, Jacob. We're right here." As she grasped his hand, tears spilled freely from her eyes. His touch felt like a lifeline, a connection to all that mattered. "You've been so strong," she whispered, brushing back a wayward hair from his forehead. "We've all been praying for you." Jacob's gaze shifted to David, a sparkle of recognition slowly igniting his spirit. "I knew you would come. Did you get my messages?" "Every single one," David replied, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We've always believed in your healing. God has not done with you yet." The warmth in the room intensified, as if the very air was charged with hope. Just then, Mrs. Fletcher appeared in the doorway, her presence a soothing balm to Marjorie's frayed nerves. "Can I come in?" she offered softly. "Of course, Mrs. Fletcher. We could use your light," Marjorie welcomed, her heart swelling with appreciation. As the elder woman joined them, she began to pray. Her words filled the room, wrapping around them like a warm shawl, radiating faith and assurance. Dear Lord, we thank you for this moment. We thank you for your presence here with us. We trust in your plan for Jacob's life. Each phrase seemed to open the windows of heaven, inviting an even greater warmth. Jacob, bolstered by the prayer, clasped Marjorie's and David's hands, linking their faith together in an unbreakable bond. When Mrs. Fletcher finished, Marjorie embraced Jacob, breathing in the sweetness of this moment. You're going to get better, Jacob. We're going to fight this together, she said, her voice filled with determination. But just then, a shadow crossed her heart, and questions tugged at her soul. Would this healing come without further trials? What would they face next? God had shown them a glimpse of hope, but was there more to this journey? As they shared stories and laughter, the laughter mingled with soft tears. Jacob's spirit lifted with each tale of encouragement, but Marjorie couldn't shake off the sense that something deeper was to come. Perhaps a greater test lay ahead, one that might reveal even more about faith and its resilience than they had anticipated. What would the next chapter unveil in their journey of divine trials? Would it deepen their faith or test it to the core? Only God knew. The spirit in Jacob's room felt alive, almost electric. Marjorie could sense that something profound was stirring within them. Each shared memory, each gentle laugh rang like bells of hope in her heart. Yet shadows lingered, whispering of challenges still to come. Mom, Jacob's voice barely broke the joyful chatter. Have I changed? I mean, how do I look? His eyes searched their faces for reassurance. David chuckled lightly, his eyes shimmering with affection. You look like a warrior, son. Battling and winning every day. Jacob smiled, but his brow furrowed for a brief moment. Warrior, huh? I feel like a teddy bear. Marjorie squeezed his hand. A teddy bear with a heart of gold. Your strength is beyond what we can see. She meant those words deeply, for she had witnessed his tenacious spirit through endless days of uncertainty. Just then, Mrs. Fletcher's voice interrupted their light-hearted banter. Jacob, she began, her tone shifting slightly, becoming more serious. Have you heard of the story of Job? How he faced unimaginable trials but never lost faith. Jacob nodded slowly. Yes, my Sunday school teacher talked about him. There's a depth in those stories, she continued, her gaze fixed on him. Sometimes, God allows us to face storms not to test our faith, but to grow it. Your journey may bring moments of struggle. Stay anchored in hope. Marjorie felt a chill at Mrs. Fletcher's words, a tender edge of foreboding. She understood there was wisdom in them, but the very thought of more trials made her stomach tighten. Why couldn't the journey just be filled with the sweet joy of healing? Yeah, Jacob replied, but it's easier to be a warrior when you're winning. And you're winning, David declared, clasping Jacob's shoulder with a firm grip. The fact that you're here with us is already a huge victory. Jacob's smile returned brighter as the last echoes of doubt faded, even if just for a moment. Together, they began to reflect upon their experiences, filling the air with laughter, each story a reminder of the brighter days. Amid the conversations, Marjorie's heart gave birth to a deeper prayer. God, guide us. Help us through every trial and lead us to deeper faith. Minutes turned to hours, enveloped in the glow of warm emotions and tender reassurances. But as evening fell and shadows crept along the walls, a sudden hush filled the room. A nurse entered, her face serious. Excuse me, she said, soft yet firm. We need Jacob for some routine scans. It'll only take a moment, but it's best if you wait here. The room fell quiet, and Marjorie's heart fluttered. She glanced at David, who shifted uneasily. The sudden rush of impending tests brought a pang of anxiety. Questions ricocheted in her mind. Would they find something? Would healing still be within reach? As they waited in silence, prayer filled the air. Lord, grip our faith as we face the unknown, Marjorie whispered under her breath, trying to push through her apprehension. Suddenly, the door opened and a nurse beckoned. It's time. Marjorie's palms clammy with anxiety, she squeezed David's hand tighter, their expressions mirroring the unspoken worry. Before they followed the nurse, Jacob turned to them and smiled, a flicker of calm amidst the storm. I'm ready for whatever comes. God got me. With each step towards the hallway, Marjorie's heart raced, doubts mingling with faith. What awaited Jacob? Would their struggles reveal a divine purpose beyond comprehension? As they stood outside in the hushed corridor, waiting for their beloved to return, they could only wonder what revelations lay ahead, and would their faith be enough to withstand the trials that might come? Only time would unveil the answer. The corridor felt long and sterile, the linoleum floor underfoot cold and uninviting. Marjorie stood still, feeling the weight of the fluorescent lights glaring down upon her. Each tick of the clock echoed in her mind, a reminder of the minutes slipping by without Jacob's laughter to fill the void. David leaned beside her, his shoulder brushing against hers as he whispered, "He'll be okay." Yet, even as he spoke, she could hear the tremor in his voice. The hope they clung to began to fray at the edges, and her heart cried out for reassurance. "Do you remember that day at the park?" she suddenly ventured, her voice barely a whisper. David nodded, a soft smile breaking through his worry. "The one when Jacob flew that kite so high it almost got tangled in the trees?" "Yes." Marjorie laughed lightly, grateful for the memory. "He was so determined, yelling higher, higher. And then it just soared. It felt like I was watching him reach for the sky." "That's our boy," David replied, pride shining through the shadows. "He always has been a dreamer, fearless at heart." A deep breath filled Marjorie's lungs. She anchored herself to that moment, finding strength in the love they shared. If Jacob could be fearless, then so could she. "Lord, give me your strength," she murmured, seeking divine comfort in the stillness. At that moment, a door down the hall creaked open, and a doctor stepped out. Marjorie's heart leaped. But the doctor's face did not show the triumphant joy they so desperately wished for. Instead, there was a solemnity in his eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson," the doctor began gently, and in that moment, Marjorie felt the world around her pause. "He's stable," the doctor continued, but the word stable hung in the air like a heavy cloud. "We did find some complications, but we're still assessing their significance. I'd like to discuss this with you in more detail." The words twisted in Marjorie's stomach like a knife. Complications, she thought, fearing the implications of it all. "Can we see him?" David asked, the strength of his voice cracking under strain. "Not yet. We're running further tests to make sure we have a complete picture. But rest assured, we're doing everything we can." The doctor's figure faded back into the doors of the ward, and Marjorie felt her heart sink once more as silence swallowed them whole. "Marjorie?" David reached for her, his hand warm against her cool palm. "You okay?" "I don't know, David." Her voice trembled as she tried to force a smile. "It's just, why the complications? We were starting to believe everything was looking up." "It's a test of faith, my love," David said softly, looking into her eyes. "The kind of test meant to deepen us. Remember what Mrs. Fletcher said?" Tears glistened at the corners of her eyes. "I know, but sometimes it feels so heavy." Just then, a familiar voice interrupted their contemplation. "Mom, Dad." Both Marjorie and David turned to see Jacob wheeling toward them, a bright smile on his face that cut through the gloom like a lighthouse beam. "Hey, you won't believe what just happened. They did this scan and apparently I have extraordinary." But he paused, sensing the tension wrapped around their shoulders. He shifted in his wheelchair, concern flashing across his young face. "What's wrong?" "No, it's nothing like that, sweetheart," Marjorie soothed, kneeling to meet his eyes, grateful for his undeniable spark amidst their worries. "Just some waiting," David said, forcing a strong nod. Jacob's brow furrowed. "Waiting can feel so long. It's like waiting for the kite to catch the wind." Marjorie chuckled through her tears, a bittersweet smile crossing her lips. "Yeah, but remember, that kite always finds a way to soar." As they stood together, a warm presence washed over them, a gentle reminder of hope's power amid uncertainty. With Jacob's laughter echoing in her heart, Marjorie felt a stirring of resilience growing within. They would wait. It felt different now, spurred by a shared conviction. "God is still at work, right?" Jacob's words glowed with a certainty that both comforted and challenged her. We're embracing the trials together, a fierce knot of faith woven tightly in the face of the unknown. As they leaned into that newfound hope, a soft light flickered overhead, bathing them in warmth, as if heaven whispered promises of reassurance and love. Little did they know, the true test was yet to come, a moment that would change everything. Would they be ready when it arrived? The waiting room felt different now, the air charged with a strange mix of hope and dread. Marjorie clutched Jacob's small hand, her heart racing as she marveled at his cheerfulness. Could he sense the burden of worry hovering just above them? He was so brave, even amidst his own struggles. "Mom, I feel like a superhero," Jacob burst out, an infectious joy radiating from him. "I'm going to be okay. Just like in the movies, right?" His excitement pierced Marjorie's heart, a reminder that sometimes faith wore a child's face. "Yes, my love," she said, her voice steadier now, like a superhero. David leaned in closer, a proud smile spreading across his face. "One day we'll tell everyone how you flew high above the hospital, just like your kite." Jacob laughed, a sincere sound that melted the thick air between them. Yet, the taste of joy was mingled with salt, a bittersweet longing for the everyday that lay just outside their reach. With the countdown on the doctor's tests still ticking in the back of their minds, Marjorie sought comfort in prayer. "Lord, hear me," she whispered, her heart pouring out all her fears and hopes. "I trust in your plan, even when it feels too heavy to bear." In those moments, she felt the tiniest flicker of divine peace, a soft embrace that wrapped around her spirit. It was as if someone had turned up the light in a darkened room, warming her insides with tender reassurance. Day turned into night as the cycle of waiting continued. Other families drifted in and out, the emotional weight visible on their faces. Yet Marjorie found strength in Jacob. He wove stories, spun dreams, and made silly faces that made everyone giggle, even the nurses. "Laughter is a kind of miracle, isn't it, Mom?" he remarked, his eyes gleaming with innocence. "Indeed, it is," Marjorie replied, gratitude swelling within her. The love that united them felt palpable. And yet, around the shadows of their time there, doubt flared like an unwelcome intruder. Each echo of footsteps through the corridor brought with it a rising tide of anxiety. "What if the complications are too much?" she thought silently. But before she could linger in that unsettling contemplation, the doctor appeared again, the faint echo of his shoes breaking the silence. Marjorie's heart thudded in her chest. She saw David stiffen beside her, two anxious souls ready to absorb whatever news lay in wait. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson," he began, his voice calm and low. Yet the seriousness of his expression sent a wave of uncertainty crashing over her. "We need to discuss some options," he continued, cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. Jacob's eyes darted between them, sensing the shift. "I'm still a superhero, right?" he asked, a hint of worry creeping into his voice. "Yes, always," David assured him, but Marjorie felt her heart pang. A superhero needs strength, but even superheroes can fall vulnerable. "Let's talk in private for a moment," the doctor suggested, leading them away from Jacob's hopeful gaze. The words danced around her mind, options and assessments swirling ominously. As they stepped into the small conference room, Marjorie felt the anchor of her faith waver. "God, give me clarity, guide us through this," she prayed silently. With each word, she felt a light guiding her back, whispering that this was indeed a journey, one shared with grace. As the door closed, sealing them off from Jacob's rays of innocence, Marjorie braced herself. What would the doctor reveal? The moment hung like a fragile bubble, ready to burst. She could almost hear the flutter of wings, the echo of hope reminding her of the kite, a beacon soaring high above the turbulent winds of uncertainty. Were they ready for what was to come? Would they stand strong against the storm? With each inhalation, Marjorie sensed it, the divine yearning urging her to hold on tight. What would be revealed in the next breath? In that small room, shadows danced unsettlingly as the doctor settled into his chair. Marjorie's heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing the time they had spent waiting. David's hand tightened around hers, anchoring her amidst the turbulent landscape of emotions. "First, I want to assure you that we are here for Jacob," the doctor said, his brow furrowed in a way that suggested he understood the weight of his next words. "We have some concerning findings. Jacob's condition requires us to consider more intensive treatments." As he spoke, Marjorie felt the air around them grow heavy. Fear clutched at her throat, making each word he uttered harder to swallow. Options. Assessments. Plans. A collage of uncertainty painted vivid images in her mind. "But Lord, where is the hope in this?" she cried silently, her heart aching under the weight of possibilities. David's grip on her hand seemed to channel a calming strength, reminding her of their shared journey. "What does that mean for our superhero?" he asked, his voice steady, but tinged with anxiety. The doctor paused, looking down at the stack of papers before him. "We're at a crossroads," he admitted, lifting his gaze again. "But with diligent care and faith, there is still a chance for recovery. We can begin treatments and monitor his response closely." Marjorie took a deep breath, trying to summon the courage that had been a guiding light through their darkest days. But doubt still lingered, threatening faith like a storm at sea. How many more trials would they face? In that quiet moment, Jacob's laughter echoed in her memory, the sound of innocence and hope. It was as if he could sense their struggle, his spirit a balm to her fraying nerves. "Mom," she murmured, the words as soft as a whisper, "can we ask for a miracle?" It wasn't a question she planned, but a desire that sprang forth from her heart, a warm flame ignited by desperation. "Absolutely," David replied, his voice a steadfast anchor. "But we need a plan. Every superhero needs one." He turned back to the doctor. "What can we do to support Jacob?" "We are willing to do anything. Faith is a powerful ally," the doctor remarked, and for a moment, the weight lifted just slightly. "We'll establish a treatment protocol, but the emotional support you offer is essential. Laughter, joy, and love are just as important as the medicine." Marjorie nodded, awakening to an understanding that deepened her resolve. They could illuminate the path ahead with their love, even when the journey twisted through uncharted waters. As they discussed possible treatments, something shifted within her, a flicker of faith ignited by the bond of family and shared purpose. It was a divine realization. Perhaps it wasn't solely the outcome that defined their journey, but the strength of their connection and the act of choosing to face every day together, come what may. But soon, the gravity of their situation weighed heavily again. What if the treatments didn't work? Would their faith flicker in the face of hardship? "Lord, help us know what to do," Marjorie prayed silently. But as the discussion unfolded, she felt an inexplicable peace wrap around her heart. "Whatever happens, we fight together," she declared, her voice quivering yet firm. "We'll stand strong like the kite Jacob flies, even amidst the winds of trouble." The doctor smiled slightly, acknowledging their determination. Yet Marjorie sensed an unseen force pushing against her, pulling her toward an unknown destiny. What awaited them on this path forward? What would the outcomes yield in the face of faith? Each question danced in her mind like the twilight shadows, vibrant yet elusive. As they stepped out of the meeting, Marjorie turned toward the window, catching a glimpse of Jacob playing, his laughter ringing like church bells. "He's our miracle already," she whispered to David, her heart full of hope. But just then, a flicker of uncertainty crept back in. Could this resolve withstand the trials to come? What other tests awaited them before they would see their miraculous manifestation? The breath she took was a blend of anticipation and prayer. A journey was ahead, unfolding like the wings of a kite in the wind. What would be revealed in the next chapter of their unfolding story? As dawn broke over St. Paul's, light poured into every corner of Marjorie's soul. She woke with renewed determination, her heart swelling with hope and faith. Today was not just any day, it was the day when everything could change. The trials they faced had deepened her spirit, forging a bond of love and trust solid as the rock upon which she built her faith. Marjorie felt the weight of God's promise, a whisper urging her onward. She carefully dressed, her hands steady as she envisioned Jacob stronger and vibrant. "Lord, lead us through," she prayed softly, her voice floating like a prayerful incense in the air. Arriving at the hospital, the familiar smells of antiseptic and fresh flowers filled her senses. But this time, They were filled with purpose, a tangible reminder of hope. As she stepped into the waiting area, she was met by David and Jacob, their faces lit with uncontainable energy. "Mom, I'm ready. Let us do this," Jacob exclaimed, his spirit glowing. The once weak voice now resonated with unwavering strength. Marjorie knelt beside him, cupping his face in her hands. "You're our hero, Jacob. We're all here for you." But it wasn't just the three of them. The community was behind them, friends and family filtering in with smiles, prayers, and unwavering faith. The power of collective belief enveloped them, creating a cocoon of divine assurance. The doctor arrived, bringing an air of responsibility fused with hope. "Today, we will begin the new course of treatment, and I want you both involved. It will take faith, not just medicine." His eyes sparkled with recognition, a shared understanding of the journey ahead. Marjorie nodded, feeling the urgency blossom in her heart. "We are ready," she affirmed, looking at David and Jacob. "Our faith will be stronger than every trial, and we will rejoice in every step." The procedure began, and as Jacob was led away, Marjorie and David held hands tightly, grounding one another amidst the swirling emotions. Time passed painfully slowly, yet every tick of the clock echoed with prayers of comfort and faith. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the anticipation. Mrs. Fletcher appeared, her presence majestic and filled with divine wisdom. "I've been praying for you, sweet child," she said to Jacob, her kind eyes twinkling. "Remember, God's hand is upon you." Marjorie felt fortified, each shared word a stone laid upon the foundation of their journey. Jacob left for his treatment, wavering moments of uncertainty flickering like candle flames. Late afternoon shadows began to creep over the walls when at last the doctor returned, the tension in the air palpable. Marjorie's heart raced, a symphony of fear and hope. "Mrs. Thompson, Mr. Johnson," he began, a smile slowly spreading across his face. "The results show promising signs, positive responses to the treatment." Every word pierced through the darkness that had sought to suffocate them. Tears prickled Joseph's eyes, and Marjorie felt warmth spreading within her. "Does this mean?" "It means hope is soaring," the doctor affirmed, his eyes reflecting the light of divine possibility. "This is just the beginning of Jacob's journey, but I would say he is victorious." Joy burst from Marjorie's heart like radiant sunlight breaking through clouds. "Thank you, Lord," she cried, wrapping her arms tightly around David as they embraced. The air felt electric with gratitude. "Thank you, Doctor," David managed to say, his voice a palpable echo of joy and relief. "What does this mean for Jacob's future?" "Continued care, faith, and support from you both," the doctor replied promptly. "It's a partnership with God and with each other." Marjorie beamed, feeling the collective faith of St. Paul's shining brightly around them, a warm light guiding them through the trials they had faced. Their hearts were lifted, and the shadows of doubt faded into the recesses of their memory. As they entered Jacob's room, the moment felt sacred. Jacob looked up, his eyes bright as he took in his parents' smiles. "I told you I was a superhero. I can feel the power of all the love and prayers around me." Marjorie knelt beside him, a deep sense of gratitude enveloping her heart. "You are indeed our hero, Jacob. You've shown us what it means to trust, to fight. I'm just getting started." He grinned, the warmth of his spirit radiating through the room. With laughter filling the air, the family huddled together, strength and faith intertwining. All that they had endured, every doubt faced and fear conquered, would only serve to deepen their love and connection as they moved forward. The power of miracles had manifested. As they embraced tightly, Marjorie knew they would continue to lean on each other and their community. She was reminded of the promises God made not just for healing but for growth, transformation, and unwavering faith through trials. "Let us go home together, superheroes," Jacob announced, and in that moment, they knew healing had begun not just for Jacob, but for their entire family, awakened like a new dawn glistening in the morning. This was just the beginning of their journey, a unique adventure knitted within the fabric of faith. Now, as you reflect on this powerful conclusion to Marjorie's story, You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share your reactions and testimonies about the ending in the comments. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Together, let us spread hope and faith.